Pioneer Carry Rate Pack. If you've seen some of my other videos, you probably already know, like, Pioneer Carry is a brand I'm a big fan of. Their Panda Pack in particular is like Le Creme. When I initially did the review, I don't know, it was like 9 months ago, I talked about how, like, if my house was on fire and I could only take one backpack with me, it would be that one. Fast forward to today, I've done a lot of reviews since then. In my opinion on that has not yet changed. So absolutely was curious to try out the Rate Pack. This guy is 14 liters, super sleek and minimal. It's a tote pack style, so combining a tote style bag with backpack straps. While candidly, I wouldn't say this is like my optimal way of carrying. There's a lot of advantages to having a bag like this, which I'll get into. But yeah, on the video, I'll talk about the things that I appreciate the most about it. I'll share some nitpicks that I have with it. I'll pack it out so you can see what fits in here, and then just like ultimately share my thoughts on, like, if you're looking for a compact, sleek, grab and go backpack, do I think it's worth it at $220? So let's get into it. What makes this bag special for me are just aesthetically the sleek, slim profile. Secondly are these external pockets, just like really innovative. I don't think I've seen something like that before, and they're very functional in a very specific way. And then just lastly, the material selection, which is something that is always going to be a reason to go with Pioneer Carry, and I'll get into that more in a second. But yeah, I mean, aesthetically, this is a bag that has a certain like level of quiet luxury to it, which I think is something that Pioneer Carry like really has found that balance and woven it into their design language. A lot of what's contributing to the look, which I'll get into now also, are these external pockets. It's almost like having like really deep pockets on your pants. And then the fact that it's like really slim, and then with this like tote style hybrid functionality. Second thing that I was just like really pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed are these pockets. So they're like really deep. They've got little snap buttons so you can keep things secure. But like, for example, like for water bottles, this is a 24 ounce Owala, but it fits like really well in there. 32 ounce Hydro Flask also fits super well. I know like they have like pictures with like a baguette on one side, a bottle of wine on the other. I mean, like, this bag makes me want to go have a picnic because I think it's just like perfect for that sort of thing. I think while my organizational preferences, I wouldn't say are like super aligned to this bag. Like, I need a bit more organization, more pockets for smaller things. I do find that for a lot of people where maybe they're not carrying a lot of tech, or even if they are, they're just the kind of people that like to stash things without having to think about it. And there's something kind of freeing about that. I feel like that is the kind of person that this backpack is designed for. Now, lastly, and very importantly, is the material selection. So one of the reasons why I love Pioneer products so much, Panda Pack, for example, they're using for shell fabric this 840D Mandarin ballistic nylon. And so I always go back to the same description, but it's like this like perfect balance of being rugged and luxurious at the same time. It just feels more refined than like traditional Cordura ballistic nylon. And when it comes to the price point, right? This bag is like $220. I'll throw in price points because I don't have them memorized, but like the Bellroy Tokyo Totepack, Peak Design has their own like version of the Totepack, which I would say are comparables. If I'm not mistaken, they're around this price range. And one of the things that these three brands have in common is that they are designing and developing their own in-house materials, right? That is very expensive. Peak Design and Bellroy are very large brands. They have the economies of scale to do that. Pioneer Carry is a smaller brand and they're still doing that. And I think for anyone that really doesn't value like having really unique materials, like you're not going to have this on any other bag, then I don't know if it's worth, justifying the $220 price point, because so much of what you're paying for goes towards that. Beyond the shell fabric, their 10XD or 3, this feels like their 10XD ripstop nylon is my favorite liner in any bag, period. And I am a big material guy. Like, I value that. To me, I don't mind spending more money when I'm seeing it reflected in actual materials that they're using, especially when I know that they're materials that are not going to be replicated by anyone else. Now, as far as my nitpicks go, first of all is the main compartment access. There's a few variables that tie into that. Secondly, just lack of quick access for smaller things, which I understand why they didn't include it, but just my preference, I would have still rather have that. And then lastly is the standability. So starting off with the most important one is just the main compartment access, right? So the downside of totes is typically that you have to carry them by hand or with your shoulder, so they're not as comfortable. Here, you don't have to make that trade-off because you have the backpack straps. And then the advantage of a tote is just like the access into the bag, especially for bulkier things. It's just like full on top down, like just one big cavern. So holistically, I appreciate the idea behind it, but there's a couple things that make the main compartment access a little bit cumbersome for me. So one is just these grab handles, right? The way they're stitched onto the bag, their natural position is to go inwards, right? And I totally get from a functionality standpoint, it's so that they're like ready to go for you to grab it with your hands. And that's great, but the trade-off is that they get in the way of the zipper. So you have to like use a hand, or like a few fingers to keep those little grab handles out of the way, is one. And yes, I know for some people, maybe they'll just like leave that permanently open. But if you're carrying something like a laptop, like I actually had my laptop in here and I had it open, I'm like, let me just be a free spirit for a moment and see what it feels like. I understand why I'm not that kind of person. My laptop slid out, and that was the last time I did it. And then the other component to the main compartment access is, and I've talked about this with their duration pack, for example, they use this like beautiful, like slate gray liner color. I mean, it's a beautiful color, but because this is just one big cave and it is a darker color, you just don't have a lot of visibility. The liner on the opposite side is black, and so it really is kind of like a dark cave in here. I would just like maybe something a little brighter so that I have better visibility into the bag. Second nitpick is just lack of quick access for smaller things. Really, the only quick access that you have in this bag are these two pockets. And so again, it depends on what you're carrying. I think this is a bag that really thrives with just like carrying bulkier things. For tech and a lot of like smaller things, not as much. So if you want a small place for AirPods, sunglasses, a pen, whatever, you have to open up into the main compartment, and then within here, there's like a zippered compartment where you can put those things, but it's definitely not quick access. That's 2 steps. There's been a few times where I'm like, man, I just wish I could just like throw something quickly, and you can into these like big compartments, but like I personally don't like throwing really small things in pockets that are this big, because the way that you secure is just with a snap button, and there's still holes, so it could technically slide out, and I prefer just having a little peace of mind. And then the last thing, and I think this is just the nature and the trade-off, right? One of my favorite things about this bag is just like that sleek, slim, minimal, and that's also the reason why they didn't add a quick access pocket on the outside, right? Just to keep that look. But because it is so slim, and also just the base fabric, right now I don't have a lot of stuff into it, but even when it's packed out, look, I'm not gonna put that standability as a nitpick for every bag that I review that doesn't stand on its own. But this bag in particular, because it is so slim, it's a bag that like you have to really be precise in how you place it so that you can like propping it onto a wall, right? Since the whole entire thing is top-down access, it's not like a bag that you want to be like snagging stuff while you're wearing it. You want to place it down, but you have to kind of like hold it in place. I think it'd be really tricky for them to achieve the look while still achieving the standability, but it's just something to keep in mind if you value having a bag that like stands at least okay on its own. This is definitely not a strong suit of this bag. Quick walkthrough and pack out. Little removable luggage tag that you have here. These deeper pockets are secured by little snap buttons. You got one on each side. I'll throw water bottle on one, and then something like a bulky mobile battery bank on the other, where I can just clip it and not worry about it coming out. Here on the back, no sternum strap or strap keepers. It's kind of like in pioneer carry fashion. With a 14-liter bag, I honestly like couldn't care less about not having a sternum strap, but little strap keepers would be a nice plus. And then you get the super heavy duty luggage pass through here as well. Here are the top grab handles, which I already talked about in the nitpick section, but it is nice that because they just are stitched in a way that they constantly go here, you don't they're always there waiting for you. So there's definitely pros to them having that access style. And then just like one zipper, here's that 10XD, like beautiful. It's like hard to show you because of the bag being a little slimmer, but it's incredibly nice. I'll try to throw in like shots from the duration pack that have the same color and the same liner on the inside. And then here on the back part, you have a laptop sleeve. This is a 14-inch MacBook Air, if I'm not mistaken. It fits up to a 15, maybe even a 16-inch. Should be a 16-inch. And then right in front of it, you get, it's a black liner, so it's hard to see, but you get like a zippered pocket. So this is really, as far as like your smaller things that you might want to store, this is really the main place where you can put those things in there. Now, keep in mind that with these external pockets, anything that you put in here is going to start competing with the internal volume of the main compartment. So it is a slim, slender guy. But I will say for a 14-liter pack, there's a surprising amount of space. You know, like typically what I'd throw in something like this, just my tech pouch. There's like a pocket in the bottom part, like there's like a sleeve down there, so it just keep it in place. And then like maybe like a little flannel, like an extra layer. And then that's it. I mean, I put in a bulkier water bottle, but I'd probably like use something slimmer for something like this. So final thoughts, and like, is it worth it? Like who it's for? I feel like I picture kind of like a creative executive type rocking a bag like this, someone that's minimal, dialed in with the things that they carry. They maybe value form over function a little bit. They want something that's both understated but also different and stands out without like screaming for attention. So in that way, this bag is really cool. Again, the advantages of having a tote pack like this is just having that big open cavity top-down access style of a tote that's really ideal for just like throwing clothes or bulkier things, or like, you know, water bottle, wine bottle, bread, like they put on their website, whatever, without compromising on the comfort where you can actually rock this with traditional backpack straps. It's a really good looking bag. The price point, when I talked about the materials, they are designing and developing their own in-house shell fabric, this Mandarin ballistic nylon, which is like one of my favorite shell fabrics on any bag. The liner that they use, the 10XD ripstop nylon, is my favorite liner of any bag, period. It is incredibly luxurious. I think if you value those things, $220 for a 14-liter bag is on the expensive side. I think it's, again, like kind of in line with like the Bellroy, Tokyo Totepack, and like their Peak Design version. So it just comes down to like, do you prefer the look of this one over those? And yeah, just the main things to keep in mind is just the bag is, you know, standing is not one of its strengths. These grab handles just like to go inwards, so just like you have to be a little bit methodical with how you open it. You just have to like at least get one of them out of the way. And it's a bag that's like very sleek and slender, and so it's sexy in that way, but also it's not a massive bag where you're going to be putting a lot of stuff into it. I think this could make for like a really good diaper bag, grab and go bag, an office bag if you're like fairly minimal with what you carry. And yeah, I feel like there's a very specific target audience that would absolutely appreciate that bag. I'm wondering if you fall into that niche persona. But other than that, best of luck. Cheers.